Hey,
How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Great. I'm really excited because I feel like I get you all the time and you are a treat and you don't really get on social media very much
This is true.
and you don't go to any networking events.
I do not.
You go to work, you hang out with your kids. You don't like those kind of
Yeah.
things. So I feel like you're like a hidden treasure. And now everyone gets to enjoy the genius that is Ashley Rogers.
Oh, thank you.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So Ashley is Freshly Picked Chief Revenue Officer. Um, her and I have worked together a year now, over a year.
Mm-hmm.
When I came back at Freshly Picked last year, I can't remember, you were CMO?
Yeah, so I don't remember. Marketing,
She
sales,
was
yeah.
marketing, and I love working with Ashley. I feel like she's the other half of my brain. I feel like we complement each other very well, and it is really fun. And so I'm really excited because I think I told you guys last week I'm starting my masterminds again. And Ashley is going to do the masterminds with me. I talked her into it, which I'm so excited about. And so we are just going to talk through what we're going to do for the masterminds. And if you have any questions, put them in the comment box. But we're just going to go through how we came about it and what we're going to talk through. So, Ashley, what did you think when I asked you to start masterminding with me?
I was excited. I was super excited. I think it's going to challenge me to take things out of my brain and put them somewhere, which I think will be really good. As you know, you try to dig out of my brain all the time. So I think it's going to be really fun. I think it's going to be a new challenge and something I haven't done before, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. I think I've gained a lot of experience over the years and kind of tested things and found what works and what doesn't work. And I'm really excited to be able to help other people kind of shortcut some of that.
Okay, so let's start. Who is a mastermind for?
Small business owners that run a product-based business,
Mm-hmm.
e-commerce, specifically Shopify. Amazon is great too. We're going to cover Amazon, but you don't have to have an Amazon storefront. Um, you have to have a minimum of 50,000 in revenue for 2024. But really, we're looking for business owners who are really wanting to grow and scale their business and just need a little bit of help, and they can't bring in a C-suite of people to help them get there. And so we want to be able to help those people with the tools and resources and information to help them grow.
Yeah, and just a little bit of like what's our why do we think we can do this? So when I came back to Freshly Picked last year, I would say Freshly Picked had been a declining company for 4 years. And Ashley and I jumped in, rolled up our sleeves, started pulling literally everything apart and putting it back together. And this year we are up year over year, which um we fought for every basis point that we
Absolutely.
are. It has like cells in our body for in that basis point. Like
Yes.
literally, we fought for each piece that we are up, but we grew our company this year. A lot of companies that I know are not up this year, which is fine. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're declining, you're increasing, or whatever. But I feel like we streamlined a lot of stuff. We stripped a lot of stuff out, and
Hmm.
we feel like, hey, let's take what we learned and put it to use and practice for other people.
Yes. Yeah, and I think evolving, like if I were to think, like name one year of 2024 freshly picked for you and I, was like evolution and just
Yes.
evolving with the business. And I think that is key. And I think a lot of people kind of get stuck in one way. It's like, well, I tried this one time and it worked. That doesn't mean it's going to work again. So giving those tools to be able to evolve in an effective way that doesn't waste time.
Yeah, in fact, it probably won't work again because
It's
because
always
Facebook's like,
changing.
oh, that worked for you. Cool. Now you have to pay for it to work for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not all plug and play. And I think that's a thing that separates us from other masterminds I've seen in the past. You know, it's like, okay, you just take this and you apply it and it works. That's not the case. We're more teaching, here's where you look, here's what you're looking for, and here's how you use that information to make
Yeah.
decisions.
So there's like a framework of like, here's everything that you need to build within. And
Yes.
then once you get that framework down, then you can be creative. Then you can pull all these levers. Then you can make the money. So something that I always like to start with, and it's like awesome that it's like January, brand new year, is I love to go through with people is like, what do you want? What are you trying to do? Because if you're trying to build a lifestyle business, that looks totally different than if you're trying to build a business that you grow and sell eventually. And so that's like one of the first things we're going to cover in the mastermind. I would say that's like our so how the mastermind is going to work is it's going to be 6 months. There's going to be 2 courses each or 2 calls each month. Those will be Zoom calls that Ashley and I will put on. In each month, we're going to focus on different principles of your business, and they'll build on each other. So the base that I like to get down is like, what do you want? Because if we don't know what you want, then we don't know what we're building towards. And so I love doing this in January. I love doing this around my birthday. I love doing this in June. I have notebooks full of like, what do I want? And I love going through that with other people. I think you and I have gone through it a few times. I love people's big goals. I love small goals. I love all of it. And so that's going to be one of the big things is like, what do you want? We're going to write it down. We're going to take action. We're going to start putting actionable steps next to what you want. And that will be kind of course 1, month 1A, I guess you'll call it. And then 1B, we're going to go into finance, which Ashley and I this year got our MBAs in.
Yes.
We are finance professionals.
Yes.
Through trial and error and something no one ever wants to be in.
Yes.
And that will go through, I'll let you take over.
Okay.
Because this is kind of where you love to be.
Yes. I have turned into quite the little numbers junkie. I love it. So we'll go through how to read your P&L. Every business has a P&L, but you should be using that P&L to help you make decisions and actionable things you can take from it. And I think that's where a lot of that gap is. That's something I had to learn over the years was like, okay, how do I take these numbers and then help them inform decisions I'm going to make in other areas of the business? 13-week cash flow. That is something Susan and I learned a lot about this year.
It was new to me this year.
Yes.
Actually.
And how to set it up, how to use it again in decision making. It really helps forecasting. Forecasting is another huge portion of finance. I do all the revenue forecasting for Freshly Picked, so I've definitely got a lot of exercise in that, but you have to accurately be able to forecast the top line to then forecast your costs for your cash flow. So that's a really valuable tool in a business. Determine what your true gross margin is. I think a lot of people calculate their gross margin based on kind of a hunch or something they've been told, and really narrowing that down so you can see what you're actually making on your product. And then another element of the finance portion will be kind of overhead and costs. Is that in the right area? Is that something that's necessary? Does your overhead percentage make sense for the size of revenue that your business is? Because if your overhead is too great, you're going to have a really hard time climbing to profitability.
Right. And then what we'll cover later is like supply chain. But then once you understand what's going, like how much money you're actually making, then being able to like plan all of your launches and new product that you want to bring in and product pipeline and all of that. So understanding your finances right from the beginning, it'll tell you how much you can spend on advertising and marketing, how much you can spend on product, how much you can spend on employees. It also allows you to look at your year and go, okay, well, where's my big money coming from? So like, are we doing seasonal sales? Is it coming from launches? Is it coming from events? How much can I spend on influencers? Probably not a lot. So then it just allows you, once you look like the numbers, I know there are people out there who are like, I hate finance, I hate money. And it's like, actually, this year you need to get really comfortable with it. I love numbers. I love understanding where we're at, even if the answer is not
Mm-hmm.
good. Because then Ashley and I, how many times this year, I can count 5, where you and I have gone like, oh, okay, we need to make some money in the next 2 weeks, and we figured it
Mm-hmm.
out. And so just like finance is just the basis of our building blocks, and that's where we have to start. And so we're going to put a lot of emphasis on that, and then we'll go as fast or as slow as people are comfortable with. And if they have questions or if they need more help, we can totally help with that, but it'll all come back to that for sure.
Yeah. And I think this in those masterminds too, an advantage is people are going to be able to ask those
Mm-hmm.
questions, and have us be able to cater answers specific to what their questions are, not just a blanket, here's your solution.
Right. And then we're going to go into our sales channels. And this is something that is so fun for both of
Mm-hmm.
us, like figuring out where your money's coming from, what's coming in, how we're going to grow each channel. And Ashley, I feel like you've really perfected that this year. Well, I I don't I don't know if you would consider it perfected. I think you've really
It's progressed.
you have progressed, but it's been awesome to watch. And so I'm going to again let you take it over.
Yeah, so sales channels, that's obviously Shopify, because that's a requirement for this
Mm-hmm.
course is to be on Shopify. And I'll first kind of break out Shopify. So what the key metrics are to look at in Shopify for success, kind of where that starts, what numbers you need to be watching, kind of what levers you can pull to get those numbers to go the direction that you want. Then there is Amazon. If you're on Amazon, we'll be covering kind of some key things operationally in Amazon. Amazon operates 100% different than D2C on Shopify. Customers different, their shopping behavior is different, everything, the way you receive money is completely different. Being able to forecast that, because Amazon is not super transparent in the way that they give you your money. So we'll go through that. Also, for people who are looking to set up Amazon, kind of how to get started on setting up your Amazon storefront. And then an additional sales channel is wholesale. And that's kind of like your major retailer markets, your smaller mom and pop shops. There's ways to do wholesale online. Shopify has helped a lot with that. So we'll kind of go through all of those channels, how to operate them, what the goals should be, what levers you can pull, because in a D2C business, you have to constantly be pulling levers. That's how you're gonna see success, is just constantly, again, evolving in the business and knowing which levers to pull at what time.
Totally. Um, I think like my favorite thing in all of sales channels is it usually comes down to 3 things, which we're going to cover in these, which is traffic, conversion rate, and AOV.
Mm-hmm.
And we like to bucket everything kind of into those. And so no matter what channel it is, understanding where your traffic comes from, understanding what people are converting on, and then figuring out how can I up my AOV, or is it the right product mix, or when do things go on sale, all of those things. So sales channel will be in our second month. Again, first we'll do kind of who am I, what do I want, how do I grow my business, and finance in the first month. Second month, sales channel. And then that one, I think we're doing a whole month on that. Yes. Because we want you guys to just be locked and loaded on that. Then we're going to go into our marketing, which again, this is Ashley taking over. What Ashley is really good at. So again, we have 2 different strengths here. Ashley is really, really good at consistency, about fine tuning it, squeezing every last dollar out of every dollar that goes in. And then I'm really good at the virality of it, grassroots, getting influencers involved. And so we kind of approach it from two different angles there. And so you go over that, and then I'll go over kind of bringing in a little bit of an influencer.
Yeah. So my portion essentially of the marketing that I feel like is my strength is the consistency, and that's consistency with everything. It's consistency in the way you talk to your customers. It's consistency in the way that you represent your brand. It's consistency across your brand on all platforms too. That's email marketing, social media, paid advertising. It's kind of everything across the board, making sure that every touch point that your customer sees you, it feels consistent and it feels familiar to the brand. Um, how you talk to your customers is a big part of that, and copy. So what problems are you trying to solve for your customers, and explaining how your product does that. So you really have to know who your customer is. That's a big part of marketing, especially in the email marketing and advertising side of things. You have to know who your customer is to be able to then find them, to find more of them. Freshly Picked has been around since 2009, and our customer base is constantly evolving and growing, and we're finding new people in new places. There's people entering the phase of pregnancy and they're starting to become a mom and they're a new mom. There's people whose kids are turning into teenagers now, like there's that constant flow, and always keeping up with who your customer is, and in a general sense, but then who's your customer for specific products too, because if your product line has variety to it, that could tailor who your customer is a little bit differently.
Totally. Also, when we think about who our customer is, that will come into play also with our product roadmap.
Yes.
And as we're designing our products, we just sat in a meeting last week and we were talking about Disney, and I'm like, who is this girl that is buying X, Y, or Z? And so we have to define that, find who she is, and then it informs our marketing. It also informs all of our product. And then we're going to go through how to work with influencers. So, like I said at the very beginning, Freshly Picked has been a decline. Now we're an increasing company. But we have always focused, we live in Utah. Influencers just are all over here. I think we incubate them out in Draper or something. But it is the land of influencers, which we love, because I've been able to have different subsets of influencers. It seems like there's always someone who's pregnant. There's always new girls that are popping up. The thing that we've never been able to do is to pay influencers a lot of money. It's just not something that's ever been in our budget. I don't think it will ever be in our budget. And so we've had to get super creative about how we work with influencers. And a lot of it comes down to reciprocity. And so we do have a budget for that, but it looks more like last month we did a wreath making party where women could bring their moms to a party, and it was so cute and so fun. Ashley, of course, was not there. Again, not personally. But my mom came and my aunt came, and all these girls brought their moms and they made wreaths, and it was just the best time. And then everyone that came got a bag, and some people posted about it and some people didn't. But what we are trying to do is create a long-term partnership with influencers and not just do a pay per post. And so we're going to talk through how we do that, our thinking on it, what we look for, and show you guys how that all works. Okay, and then we go into advertising that month. So we're again spending a whole month on marketing and advertising, because, or are we doing 2 months on those?
I think marketing's 1 month, because marketing's pretty broad, like from the creative elements to like targeting. And then advertising and SEO is a month. Advertising, I think it needs a whole month, because there's so many different places to advertise and you have to treat them all differently. There's also a lot of data and metrics in gauging the effectiveness of your advertising, both in a granular sense, but then in a grand sense of the company as well. So in a lot of businesses, once you get to a certain point in your revenue, you have to advertise to find those customers. Like it's a delicate balance, because as soon as you begin to advertise on social media, your organic reach in the algorithm decreases substantially. So it's kind of finding the right spot of when to make that shift, how heavy to make the shift, kind of when to pull back. There's advertising. I mean, I could talk for 6 whole months about advertising. I feel like it is such a valuable tool, and that's a really strong, quick lever that you can pull for
Yes.
sales.
Yes, but you also have to be ready to support it long
Yes.
term, because you can't turn it on, then turn it off, then turn it on again. It'll really mess with your organic. It takes time to build up your space in like in the, I don't know, highway of advertising. We talked about that a lot this year when the election was going on, because everyone was being throttled, and the advertising inventory, yes, there's inventory, there's only so many screens, and so it's not like you can just put money in and get a certain amount of screens. There's only so many amount of screens, and so as the candidates were putting all this money into the advertising inventory, advertising prices were insane, plus the ROAS was not great. And so as soon as the election was over, it became great again because they weren't putting all that money into it. And so that's also something that you got to look into, is like what's happening in the broader sense of the internet right now, and what am I competing against? Yeah. So we will go over that, because it's also important seasonally to plan your buy. Like you cannot turn on advertising in November and expect it to work.
Yeah,
you need to,
it's not as effectively. So you can't say, okay, I spent $500 in August. That $500 is going to get me the same reach in November. No, that's not the case.
No, you're going to need to spend $2,500 in November.
Yes,
to get the same
to get
reach.
that same. Yep.
Yes. Okay, so we will do, just to recap if you're here. So we're talking about our mastermind that we're starting this month in January. It's called the Growth Collective. It's going to cover all your business building blocks, scaffolding, whatever you want to call it. And so the first month will be how do I grow my business and finance. Second month is going to be sales channels. Then the third month, marketing. Fourth month, advertising. And then we go into supply chain, which I love. Ashley and I last year went to Vietnam to visit our factory in Vietnam. And it was so eye-opening, so fun, so interesting. I was blown away by the, like, just the manufacturing process in Vietnam. They are eons ahead of what we are doing here. And we know that because we have a manufacturing plant here in Linden, in Utah, where we make all of our soft-soled baby shoes here. And we do a pretty good job. Like, I would say we've cut out a lot of waste, but the stuff they do there is so incredible and so cool. And you don't have to go to a factory. You don't have to go see your product being made. It's not necessary, but it's important to understand that process. And so we will talk a lot about looking into that. And with that comes BOM. With that comes, which is a bill of materials, which is, hey, here's how much everything costs. With that comes your product roadmap. So as we sit down and we plan out our year, our forecast, we are also looking at what launches are we going to need to support this year, and what months are those coming in. Timelines, product management, communicating and relationships. Anything else to add to that, Ash?
No, I mean, I think the timelines is a huge factor. That's something that we've really had to get figured out in 2024, was the reality, honestly, of how long it takes from concept to like have the container at our yard in Linden. And it is so much longer than you would imagine, because there are just so many moving pieces. And I think it was very eye-opening to me. It's like, oh, we can't wait till the last minute. We have got to get so much further out in this roadmap so that things can happen without it feeling so crunched on time.
Yeah, that's a big one. And then also understanding season, like dates and gates and holidays overseas. So I'm sure you've heard of Chinese New Year, which is all South Asian countries celebrate it. And that was not meant to be offensive to anyone.
No,
Vietnam
but
celebrates
it varies,
Chinese New Year.
And it varies the amount of time that, I mean, kind of the same way how in the US, if certain holidays, certain companies take off more time than others.
Exactly.
And you can have some suppliers who take all of January off, and then you can have some suppliers that take 2 weeks off, and understanding so that you can kind of plan accordingly to that, and it's not just constant resistance and obstacles.
Yeah. something else that you need to do once you start manufacturing is, and it's in here, nurturing the relationship through different ways. Something that our manufacturer likes to see is a forecast for the whole year. What are you guys going to order from us, and when are you going to order it? They're also trying to run a business, and they don't like surprises, and they like to be able to plan where their revenue is coming from. And so that's a big part of what we do as well.
And I feel like visiting Vietnam made that so much clearer to me on why that was so important to them, because they are running this huge operation, and it's a domino effect, and it's just making sure that everything lines up accordingly so that they can plan to meet our needs. Like it's all one big circle.
Right. Right. Yes, exactly. So that will be the 5th month. And then we go into hiring and managing. And this is something that I'm so excited about, because it's one of my, I mean, Ashley, I've told you this before, but you are one of the best managers I've ever seen with my eyes in real life. And so I'm so excited actually to learn more from you. You are so good. So we are going to talk about different types of employees. I think in this new work from home age, everyone wants to be a W or a 1099 employee, which we love, but you have to think there's a geographical implication. If you want to hire people, you need to make sure that they're within the state. Otherwise, you have to pay what's called a nexus tax. And it used to be you could kind of slide under the radar for a while with that, but now the IRS is all over it. And as soon as you hire someone in another state, even if they're a W-2 or sorry, a 1099 employee, you might get audited. And so you really have to be on top of that.
Well, and I think understanding too the expectations that you can have of an employee based on their employment status. So W-2 versus 1099, what you can kind of what the expectations can be of a W-2 employee versus a 1099 contractor, because it's very different.
Yes, and what actual requirements you have to meet for that to be a 1099 employee is it's pretty clear. Yeah, great. When to hire. So do you need more people, or do you need to strip some things out? Do you need to take away some things? Can people handle more? I've loved watching you do this, where you slowly give people more and more, and they take it on, and they're able to manage more through just like managing their days better.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes on the management side of things too, of making sure that they're clear on what the priorities are, because in a company, even like Freshly Picked, like a lot of people are wearing a lot of hats, you know, everyone's doing a lot of things, and when it feels like all those hats are coming at equal weight, that's where an employee can feel really overwhelmed. But if it's like, hey, okay, I know you have these 6 hats, but this one's here and this one's here, and then this stuff's here, and then it feels more manageable. And just making sure you're communicating. I think that, I mean, I'll go into it in a much more in depth in the courses, but it's hiring the right people and being a good manager is very important to a company being able to grow. And I think that, I mean, Susan and I have definitely rolled up our sleeves a lot in 2024 to make Freshly Picked grow, but our team has too. And they have worked really hard, and it's taken a lot of communication from middle managers. It's taken a lot of communication from leadership, and just making sure it makes sense, making sure everyone feels valuable, but that we're all working towards the same thing.
Yeah, which comes from some transparency around what your goals are, even your revenue goals. We're very transparent around that. Everyone knows what we're making each month, what it means, how far we are from where we want to be. I also think that something that will take you from a small business owner to a growing business is not getting emotionally attached to your employees' reactions or asks of you. I think that if there's some clear communication, and then there's some boundaries, and they're not out of line, like someone asking for time off is like totally normal, and that's well within their rights of what they want to do. Or if they don't like some of the things you're doing and give you some feedback, being able to take that and not take it personally is also part of being a good manager. And I think as I'm looking at some of my entrepreneurial stages, if I could have moved out of taking my employees' reaction to the business personally a lot sooner, I think that I would have been, I think it would have been really good for me. And I think I would have had success sooner. But that also goes into the next thing is like, you also just can't sit there and take it. And so we talk about when you need to terminate and move on from an employee and how you do that in a way that is within the law. And then also with, I mean, when someone leaves, you want to preserve as much dignity for them as possible. And so preserving dignity for both parties is also part of that.
Yep, I agree.
And then, yeah, so does anyone have any questions? I wonder. But those are the things that we will be going over, which I'm so excited about. And then what will you get? So again, let's go over the requirements. You need to be e-com product based, specifically Shopify. You need to have made at least 50K in 2024 or in trailing 12 months. And then, and the reason for that is that although we would love to help everyone, if you have not made any money, you need a different set of courses to get you going. This is, hey, I've already gotten started and I'm ready to take things to the next level. That's what this is about. And then what you will get each class. So we are going to have either like a handout or a sheet or something that you can work on in that month and come to the next class. You will also, we're going to have something that you can put into your business that week, like a skill or a process or a system that you can put right into practice that will save you money or make you money or something like that. And then there will also be 2 networking nights where we're gonna host on Zoom or in person that you can come to and meet up with people. And I think when I've done my mastermind in the past, what people have said is that the friendships and the relationships they come away with have been some of the most valuable things they've done. So how much does it cost? So it's $1,500 a month. So it's $750 per class. And if you pay upfront, then we're going to save $500. So that's kind of it. Ash, anything to add?
No, I'm really excited. I think it's going to be nice to be able to provide this information for people, especially businesses that, in that 50,000 a year to probably 500,000 a year is probably where I think is where that kind of pocket is to really catapult their business. And they can't afford to have a full C-suite of people in their business. They don't have the revenue to support that. So I think that's where I think that's the type of people that are going to have the most value in this.
I mean, I think sometimes too, like I remember when I hit my first million, I was like, oh my gosh, everyone knows what they're doing and I have no idea. I accidentally just backed up into this. And the truth is no one knows what they're doing. Absolutely no one. We're all just trying to figure it out. No one knows what they're doing, but I do know that systems and like problem solving are going to get you to the next level. And so that's what we put into place here.
Yeah, it's where to look. The information is there. It's where to look and what you're looking for. And I think that's just a very valuable tool that I wish I could have had taught to me earlier on.
Right. Because sometimes you're like, well, I got up, I went to work, I did this, I did that, and that's how I made the money. And it's like, sure. However, what money is falling out the bottom and how can you add more money to that? And so just like figuring again, where to look, what levers to pull and how to pull them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Ashley, thank you for coming on New Year's Day.
Yes.
I will put the link to the website. It's called the Growth Collective on on my bio. And so if you have any more questions, you can put them in the comments on this post and I'll jump in and answer them. But yeah, we'd love to see you guys. Do you remember the day it starts, Ashley?
January 15th, I
Okay,
believe.
in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Let's go.
So exciting.
Okay, we hope to see you guys there.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.